Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to study the very interesting chapter, deep water. Now, how many of you are there who like to swimming? All of you, isn't it? But you know, at the same time, it is very challenging to learn swimming, particularly when the water is very deep. Now, this particular story written by William Douglas is about a boy. The boy wants to learn swimming, but at the same time, the boy had fear or phobia of deep water. Now, the boy did not run to and fro, did not beat around the bushes, or did not go to any elder. Okay, he himself gradually eradicated this fear of swimming, fear of seeing the deep water, and then emerged as a very good swimmer. So, the venue of the story is the various counties or states of America. Now, the river is Yakima. As you know that the Yakima River flows through the Yakima County, which is in the United States of America. So let us see how a boy who is very young but at the same time is confronting challenges of there is going on a great fight in his mind. He wants to learn swimming, and at the same time he is sometimes becoming very afraid of seeing deep water. So if one becomes very afraid of seeing deep water, that the person will peep into the water body, and there he will be only able to see a maze of water and will not be able to see the bottom. But he has to dive into that water body, and then he has to make friendship with water. He may touch the bottom of that water body, he may come out of it. He has to play games with water. Now, this gradual eradication of the fear and making friendship with water was inculcated on his own by this boy protagonist. So now let us see what is going on in the mind of the boy protagonist. So from one end, this particular story is also a psychological thriller. It unfurls the dilemma which goes on in the mind of a novice swimmer. So let us see. It happened when I was 10 or 11 years old. I had decided to learn to swim. Now, the way of writing is subjective. As you can see, the pronoun I is used. This story was written when the protagonist was a teenager. He was only 10 or 11 years old. At that time, in Yakima, which is a county in the American continent, he learned swimming. Now, what is YMCA? YMCA is Young Men's Christian Association. You will find various organizations run by YMCA in various states of India also. There, various kind of co-curricular activities are taught to the aspirants who want to learn. That offered exactly the opportunity. So, in Young Men's Christian Association Club, there was a swimming pool, and the protagonist wanted to learn swimming in that pool. But was it a very easy affair that he dived into the pool and learned swimming? When he was guided strictly by a trainer? That is to be seen by us as we proceed with the story. Mother continually warned against it and kept fresh in my mind the details of each drowning in the river. Now you see here continually. Continually is actually continuously. So here is unfurled the psyche of an ordinary mother. The mother is very afraid that his son is going to learn swimming. So continuously, she is making him aware of the various disadvantages of swimming. Though swimming is a very thrilling experience, but it can also pose many troubles. It is not very much unsure that there had been past incidents of drowning. People of different ages wanting to learn swimming but were drowned. So, mother continuously made the protagonist, the boy, aware of always to strictly follow the instruction of the trainer. But the YMCA pool was safe. Now, pool was safe. What is meant by the pool was safe? The meaning is this, that the pool was a normal swimming pool meant for the learners. So it was not very deep. And as you know, that a swimming pool is slanting. One end has very less water, about of 1 feet, a person can even walk. And as it moves, as you are proceeding forward, the pool becomes, the floor of the pool slants or the water becomes deeper. The swimmers who have learned swimming, they gradually go to the other part of the swimming pool. So the YMCA swimming pool was the swimming pool meant for the learners. It was not a pond or a river, which are one of the bounties of nature and would really pose a challenge for a swimmer. It was only 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end. Shallow means the part of the swimming pool which was not deep, 2 to 3 feet. So for a tall person, it was knee deep water. A person could also walk. So there was no possibility of being drowned in that portion of the pool. And while it was 9 feet deep to the other, the drop was gradual. Now, the drop was gradual. It was slanting. So the other end, it was 9 feet. You know that the ordinary doors are 6 feet. They are quite tall. So 3 feet more than the 6 feet tall doors. They are a person who is not very tall, if had not learned the various tricks of swimming, might become throttled and drown. But this advancement towards the deepest portion of the pool was very gradual. So a swimmer would be able to control the waves, the water, the depth of the water, the various techniques of inhaling air, and then being able to keep himself maintained in the deep layers of the water. I got a pair of water wings and went to the pool. Water wings. Wings which are on the legs, so that our feet, they are very small, but these wings are pieces of, like this. These are owned as shoes. So as this expanded portion portion will be able to push back water and the person will be able to float on the water. So he took water wings and the pipes, the blown air, blown by the pipes blown with air, they are used by the swimmers. Sometimes, as we will see, that ropes, the new swimmers, they fasten their waist with ropes, and these ropes are controlled by machines of the trainer who stands at the shore, so that there was no chance for the swimmer to be drowned. Whenever the trainer would find that the swimmer is unable to control himself in water, he would be pulled to the shore. I hated to walk naked into it and show my skinny legs. Now, skinny legs which were very thin. As a young boy, our writer was slim. Okay, he was not a sturdy fellow. Now, he tells that he did not want to show his skinny legs. He has not told that he is taking the help of the water wings, which are like the waded feet of a duck, in order to learn swimming. This shows that initially he had great courage. He was not afraid of water. So what happens we will see in the course of the story. But I subdued my pride and did it. Subdued. Subdued means he did not express his pride. Did it. Did it means he ventured forth in order to learn swimming. As I am writing, you also write and you follow the text. You keep your text open. From the beginning, however, I had an aversion to the water when I was in it. Aversion. He did not like water. On land, he wanted to learn swimming. But as he dived into the water, he did not like water. Okay. This started when I was 3 or 4 years old and father took me to the beach in California. So this is very important. Now, why had he developed such a spirit? He was very much thrilled to learn swimming. And in order to learn swimming, he had to dive into water. But when he dived into water, at that time he started hating water. So what was the outcome? He could not learn swimming. He used to become afraid and he used to come out of the water body. Now he is himself analyzing why this happened to him. So I have told you previously also, as we are studying, we are going to analyze the character. Okay, so here we find that the protagonist is capable of self-analysis. Okay, you also write. Now, when our protagonist was only 3 or 4 years old, at that time, in order to enjoy the holidays, he had gone to California. As you know, that the beach of California is very famous. Tourists all over the world who want to spend their holidays very much luxuriously, they go there, they bask in the sun, and they enjoy the sea beach. And they enjoy diving also. Diving is done for few kilometers, which start from the beach. After that, only the divers can dive. After that, it is impossible for us to um, uh, dive further into the sea. He and I stood together in the surf. Now, what is surf? You all have visited. You all have visited the sea beaches. You see that when you stand on the beach continuously, the waves of the sea are coming and they are hitting you. And on the top or on the crown of the waves, there you will find the foam. This foam is called the surf. So, two of them were standing on the beach and continuously the sea waves were coming and hitting them. I hung on to him, yet the waves knocked me down and swept over me. Now you walk few feet, you proceed towards the sea. You will find that you are enjoying the pressure of the waves. The waves are almost pushing you and you are falling, and then you are again giggling and you are wanting to stand. Again the waves are coming and then you are forced to lie down. People enjoy this, and for this only they go to the sea beaches, as we are unable to dive into the sea. So I hung on to him. The writer, when he was only 10 or 11 years old, he just remained with his father. Yet the waves knocked me down and swept over me. But the waves, they did not want to listen. The waves pushed him, detached him from his father, and they all mounted on the boy who had fallen on the beach. I was buried in water, and for few seconds he was covered with layers of water and he could not breathe. How he will be able to breathe? Our lungs are like this, that we can only inhale oxygen from the air. Within the water we cannot inhale oxygen. We don't have gills, we have lungs. Then you will ask me, ma'am, then how do the swimmers remain within the water? There are different techniques of swimming. So what the swimmers do is that they inhale oxygen to their heart's content, and while they remain within the water, they do not try to exhale carbon dioxide and inhale oxygen. They know that when they are within water, they will not be able to inhale oxygen. So there are different techniques of swimming, and sometimes they are very quickly, they are just raising their heads in the air. They are coming out of the water, and again they are exhaling of carbon dioxide and inhaling oxygen, and then again they are diving deep into the water. This is the technique of swimming. As a swimmer becomes proficient and an expert, the ability of inhaling oxygen and keeping it stored in the lungs, this power increases. So they can remain within the air, within the water, for a longer period of time, and don't feel the need of continuously lifting their head out of the water or coming out of the water. I was frightened. Father laughed, but there was terror in my heart at the overpowering force of the waves. Terror, fear. So the little boy of 9 to 10 years old, was very much afraid. Father understood that nothing would happen to his son. So he chuckled, he laughed. Father laughed. And this, however, created a sort of fear in his mind. For the first time, he understood that the waves were very powerful. Overpowering force of the waves. The waves had the power of defeating a man. My introduction to the YMCA swimming pool revived unpleasant memories and stirred childish fears. Okay, as I had told you that this is a psychological thriller about how one will learn swimming. This fear remains in the minds of all the learners. We all are afraid of water. We are not seeing the water. You are seeing the sea just as land. You are going only about 10 to 15 feet towards the sea. The sea, real sea, do not start. It is the beach. The beach goes on, continues for 1 kilometer. Then starts the sea. The divers, they delve deep into the sea after proceeding 1 kilometer from the sandy beach. This fear of the powerfulness of the waves, that the waves have the ability of drowning a person, sometimes used to pop up, sometimes used to made him very much afraid and obstructed his ways of learning swimming. As the learner in the initial years remain in the swimming pool. After that, he has to go to a pond, river, and to the sea. You have heard of swimmers who have been able to cross the English Channel. The narrow ocean, the narrow part of the ocean is plagued by storm and high waves. So the swimmer had been able to save himself without succumbing to the strong forces of the wind and the water and reach the shore. And in this way, the swimmers, they emerge victorious and they become famous. So you have to take challenges. A swimmer with a spirit of fighting cannot remain happy swimming in the by constricting himself or herself within the four walls of a swimming pool. But in a little while, I gathered confidence. But he was a good learner. He wanted to face challenges. He was not an escapist. I paddled with my new water wings, watching the other boys. Paddled is a verb. You paddle while you are riding a bicycle. So he paddled with my water wings. The water wings are on as shoes. So initially he took the help of the water wings in order to move forth, in order to proceed, in order to progress in the swimming pool. In order to gain courage and confidence, the water wings are given. The water wings make the novice understand that there was no question of drowning. The water wings will continuously provide him support. Watching the other boys and trying to learn by aping them. Aping, imitating. The other boys had already learned swimming a little bit. So he was continuously seeing how the boys were swimming. Now, till here, we are not becoming aware of the presence of any trainer. So the boy is learning on his own. I did this 2 or 3 times on different days and was just beginning to feel at ease in the water when the misadventure happened. This paragraph tells about the protagonist's experience as a novice, what he had experienced in the initial few days of learning swimming. For 3 to 4 days, he imitated the boys and progressed in the water body using the water wings. Then something happened, misadventure. Adventures are experiences which are new to us, but at the same time, they end up as pleasing experiences. Misadventures, they are strange encounters, but they do not end up as anything very much pleasing. I went to the pool when no one else was there. The place was quiet. Now, here is something to be told to you. He is a self-learner. Protagonist is a self-learner. He is not forced to learn swimming by a trainer. It is not that his parents are wanting him to learn swimming. He wants to emerge victorious in the water bodies. Perhaps the biographies of the great swimmers, they mesmerize him. So he went to the swimming pool when nobody was there. In that way, he was wanting to communicate with the water body. There he wanted to be friendly with the mass of water, which is continuously posing him challenges. The water was still, and the tiled bottom was as white as clean as a bathtub. The tiled bottom was as white and clean as a bathtub. Now here there is symbolism. This shows that in that swimming pool, learning was a comfortable and a pleasing affair. He would not have to encounter difficult, mysterious, strange, obstructive challenges. I was timid about going in alone, so I sat on the side of the pool to wait for others, but still he was afraid. He had been able to develop a sort of closeness with the mass of water, but still he did not want to dive into it alone. He wanted somebody else to be with him in order to play in his new playground, the watery playground. I had not been there long when in came a big bruiser of a boy. Bruiser, rough boy of sturdy build. Means he was having exactly the opposite kind of physique of our protagonist, and the boy was also 18 years old. So he was few years senior to our protagonist. He had thick hair on his chest. The boy had grown up. He was in the early years of his youth. So he was also having hair on his chest. He was a beautiful physical specimen with legs and arms that showed rippling muscles. He was exactly opposite bodily if you compare him with our protagonist. Our protagonist had skinny legs, but his legs and hands were very strong and they were beautiful to see. He looked manly because there were the muscles. So, what did it prove? That he was a regular swimmer. The exercise, as he was every day exercising, so his body had become well built. He yelled, shouted, "Hi, Skinny, how you do like to be ducked?" Skinny. So the boy is sarcastic. Our protagonist is called names by the newcomer. How would you like to be ducked? Means he thought that the boy would not be able to swim. The boy would be drowned. The boy would not be able to breathe. And so he would start gasping and panting, and he would jump out of the water like a cork. With that, he picked me up and tossed me into the deep end. The boy was quite dangerous. Tossed, threw. The boy was very strong. He picked up our protagonist and just threw him into the water. I landed in a sitting position, swallowed water, and went at once to the bottom. So, this is the next fearful experience which the boy faced alone. What did happen? The sturdy boy came and just threw him into the water body, into the swimming pool. The boy could not understand anything and he just went deep into the bottom of the swimming pool, and there he almost as if he got a chance to sat on the floor of the swimming pool. I was frightened, but not yet frightened out of my wits. The boy was very clever, smart, had great quickness of mind. This is why he was a self learner. Out of my wits means he became very afraid. Everything happened suddenly, but he did not lose his way of thinking. How he would come out of this challenging position. He had made up his mind not to succumb to any impending dangers. His mother would not allow him to again go to the swimming pool. His mother was continuously making him aware of the dangers, so it proves that his mother, from the depth of her heart, did not want her son to learn swimming. She also did not like water or the mass of water, a mass of water which invites people to come dive into it and then play into it. On the way down, I planned. So when was the boy planning? The boy was planning when he was suddenly thrown into the mass of water in the swimming pool. Till then, he had not developed breathing trouble. When my feet hit the bottom, I would make a big jump, come to the surface, lie flat on it, and paddle to the edge of the pool. These few lines, they tell how in the initial years of learning how to swim, the boy had been aware of a very clear solution in his mind. If anyone in this way bullied him and pushed him into the water, he would try to touch the bottom of the floor of the swimming pool with his feet. Then, from the bottom of the swimming pool, he would try to jump. He would come automatically floating to the surface of the water body. There he would lie flat, and with the water wings, he would try to paddle so that he could reach the land, or he could reach the edge of the pool. It seemed a long way down. He was facing long way down. আচ্ছা, না শুরু করবো তো? It seemed a long way down. So he was facing difficulties. It was hard times. He did not know anything about water. He was only learning in that part of the swimming pool using the water wings, which had shallow water. Suddenly, the boy had lifted him up and thrown him into the bottom of the swimming pool. And there the depth was about 9 to 10 feet. So, these 9 feet appeared to him as if 90 feet. And as he could not breathe, so it appeared to him as if his lungs would burst. He was starting to suffer from breathing troubles. But when my feet hit bottom, I summoned all my strength and made what I thought was a great spring upwards. Summoned all my strength, gathered. But he, at the same time, while he was having physical difficulties, breathing troubles, he also understood that he had to save himself, otherwise he would die. So he again collected his strength and he wanted to jump. So he thought that there was a great spring upwards. Imagined I would bob to the surface like a cork. Bob means when you are opening the lid of a bottle of cold drinks and the foam comes out, the lid is thrown out. In that way, he thought there was an invisible spring of water currents at the bottom of the swimming pool, which would throw him out like a cork. He was very light in compared to the heavy layers of water of the swimming pool. Instead, I came up slowly, but this would not happen in reality. He started floating and somehow he came up. I opened my eyes and saw nothing. But water that had a dirty yellow tinge to it. But he did not come on the upper layer of the swimming pool. He was still inside water. So when he opened his eyes, he found that he was surrounded by water. He was becoming afraid. His lungs were bursting. So to him, the clean water of the pool appeared to be very dirty. I grew panicky. He became very much afraid. I reached up as if to grab a rope and my hands clutched only at water. He was having breathing troubles. So he thought that there would be something which would allow him to hold it. And with the help of that support, he would come out, but he did not get anything. I was suffocating. He was understanding that he needed oxygen in order to live. I tried to yell, but no sound came out. Then my eyes and nose came out of the water, but not my mouth. Then he understood that he had come to the upper layer of the swimming pool. His eyes and nose, they came out of the water and they could feel the fresh air. But his mouth was still under the water. And if he opened his mouth, only he would be able to gulp down water. I flailed at the surface of the water, swallowed and choked. He wanted flailed. He moved in the water body, but he only could swallow water and he was becoming choked. For a long period of time, he could not breathe. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weights, paralyzed and rigid. He wanted to think that he was not within a mass of water. So he wanted to bring out his legs and wanted to walk. He was hallucinating. He was becoming very sick. But his legs, they did not have any power. It seemed to him as if limbs had become paralyzed, as he could not breathe in properly. A great force was pulling me under. He was heavy and he had swallowed water. He could not move his arms and legs. So he was not been able to come out of the water. So it seemed as if he was drowning. Drowning means the water was pulling him inside. I had started on the long journey back to the bottom of the pool. He understood that he was not coming out of the pool. He was going back to the bottom of the pool. I struck at the water as I went down, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. He wanted to come out, but he was becoming entangled in the mass of water, in the wave of water. Expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. Nightmare, bad dream. A ghost wants to hold the person who is sleeping or dreaming. The person can feel that in the dream he is tied up with the bed. by a force. The force was a very much powerful one, but he could not see who was this forceful entity, so he could not fight against it. The same thing happened. I had lost all my breath, my lungs ached, my head throbbed. He was feeling very sick. He was having head pain and his lungs, they were becoming painful. As he was not being able to exhale carbon dioxide or inhale oxygen. He was throttled to death. I was getting dizzy. He started to, he could not see properly as he could not breathe. He was about to become unconscious. But I remembered the strategy. I would spring from the bottom of the pool and come like a cork to the surface. So this is the strategy or the plan of saving of defense of a swimmer plan. This portion tells you about the strategy what he would do. He would be very light and he would go to the bottom. From there, he would give a jump. He would try to jump out of the water. And the water would be like a spring which will throw him out like a cork. Here he compares himself with a cork. Then he would lie on the water and he would try to push water with the webbed feet or with the water wings. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and he would be safe. I would lie flat on the water, strike out with my arms and thrash with my legs. Thrash, push. With hands and the webbed feet, water wings, he would try to just push back the water waves. And in this way, he would be able to come to the edge of the swimming pool. I went down, down endlessly. I opened my eyes, nothing but water, with a yellow glow, dark water that one could not see. You know the proverb, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. So water, which is our life, when you are wanting to dive into the great depth of water, you may feel yourself that you are water is appearing in front of you as impending danger. At that time, you may not feel water as a life-giving force. So this tells that man is wanting to fight. Man is wanting to fight against nature. So nature is trying to stop man. Nature would try to prove itself to be more powerful than man. He was becoming incapable of reaching the surface of the swimming pool. He could not open his eyes. He found that surrounding him there was only water, and the water was becoming dangerous and mysterious. So it was dark. He was gradually losing his power of seeing. Everything appeared to him to be dark. He thought that he would die. And then fear, stark terror seized me. Terror that knows no understanding. Terror that knows no control. Terror that one can understand who has not experienced. So here terror is trying to become a living entity. Threatening the budding swimmer. Now, fear, stark terror, harsh terror. Terror is fear. Terror as it was catching him. This terror was very much mysterious, uncontrollable, and ununderstandable. The writer wanted to shout when he was within the watery maze, shrieking, shouting. But you know that sound needs wind waves in order to travel, so no noise came out of his mouth. He became very much afraid that he would not be able to see his mother anymore. He would die in the lap of water. His mother's forecast warnings would prove to be true. Truth, reality. He would not be able to prove himself. I was paralyzed underwater, stiff, rigid with fear. He was paralyzed. He could not inhale oxygen. So gradually, all the systems of the functioning of his body, they were stopping. His body became stiff. He had lost all his strength to move. Swimming needs a lot of strength. Even the springs in my throat were frozen. He could not shout. He was becoming afraid, and at the same time, the watery waves did not allow sound to travel. Only my heart and the pounding in my head said that I was still alive. Pounding, as if the head was throbbing like the heart. This made him realize that he was still alive. And then, in the midst of terror, came a touch of reason. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. Trying to survive. He suddenly wanted to think. He suddenly wanted to leave. And he thought that why he was not jumping. He had come to the bottom of the pool. For the past few minutes he remained at the bottom of the pool. At last I felt the tiles under me. Tiles means he was still standing on the floor of the swimming pool. My toes reached out as if to grab them, but he could not stand because the watery waves were trying to push him, though they were very mild. And with the toes he wanted to stand, but he was very tired. He knew that he would die if this went on for a longer period of time. I jumped with everything I had. Whatever strength he had, he jumped. But the jump made no difference. The water was still around me. I looked for ropes, ladders, water wings. But he could not jump. One cannot jump within water. The only technique of the swimmer in order to battle the waves of water to push water back. So he wanted to jump. It made no difference. He still was surrounded by water. So he was in a watery grave. He was in a watery grave. Okay? A mass of yellow water held me. Stark terror took even deeper hold on me. Water was yellow. Water appeared to be very pale, dark, dirty, cruel, mysterious. water did not appear to him anymore the another name of life. Okay. Stark terror took an even deeper hold on me, like a great charge of electricity. What does electricity do? Electricity will make you suddenly as if you come back to life. Now, he was gradually succumbing to the forces, deadly forces of water. Suddenly, he became afraid. He came back to his senses and he moved a little bit. He again wanted to think how to save himself. So, what was happening? He was succumbing to the deadly forces of water. Write this against the paragraph. Now, I shook and trembled with fright. My arms wouldn't move. Again, he became afraid. So, the only emotion in him was stark terror or fear. His limbs were not moving. He wanted to shout, he could not be heard. Now, every cloud has a silver lining. So, suddenly, a ray of hope reached him, as if there were my chances to live. I was coming out of the awful yellow water, at least my eyes were. My nose was almost out too. Suddenly, somehow, the water threw him out. He soared high up and he could see out of the water. He could see the air outside. And his nose suddenly, the oxygen or fresh air started entering the nostrils. Then I started down a third time. I sucked for air and got water. The yellowish light was going out. Somehow, the waves of water only had pushed him up. Again, he was coming down. So, like a puppet, he was playing. Rather, water was playing with him as he had the guts or he had the courage of he had undertaken the courage of fighting with water. So, this portion tells that the protagonist was a puppet in the hands of nature. Here, it represented by water. So we can tell the story wants to tell us something about environment. We can also understand in this way. Nature does not want that human beings, in order to prove himself to be more powerful, try to unfurl all the mysteries of nature. Then nature would also lose no opportunity to play with the intruder. Again, he was going down. Again, he could find the dirty water surrounding him. And he could not get fresh air to breathe. Then all effort ceased. I relaxed, accepting death. Even my legs felt limp and a blackness swept over my brain. He was almost on the verge of death. His legs felt limp. He could not feel that he had a pair of legs. He could not think anything, as if his brain was dying. Blackness, he could not think anything. It wiped out fear, it wiped out terror. There was no more panic. As he could not think, he was not feeling afraid. Means his body had accepted that he was at that time going to die. It was quiet and peaceful, nothing to be afraid of. Now, this portion is written in this way as if he was experiencing death. So, there was nothing to be afraid of. Everything was peaceful. He felt drowsy. He wanted to sleep, to die. There was no more need for struggling. It was rather comfortable in the lap of water. There was no need to jump. Rather, water would lull him on its lap. He would float in water as a dead body floats in water. He started to feel that his mother was caressing him. He was in the lap of his mother. Here, negatively, water is compared with his mother. So, there was no need, or he should not anymore indulge in any kind of struggle. Rather, he would try to sleep, or he would try to listen to his mother. Here, mother is water. Why mother is water? Symbolically, he is in the bosom of water for a long period of time. In the womb, the baby also floats in the fluid, isn't it? Similarly, so here, like a baby who is defenseless, dependent on mother, the swimming aspirant who wanted to be a great swimmer, who wanted to achieve expertise in swimming or fighting against nature, had been turned into a baby by the forces of nature. And nature has been again able to prove how puny man was in front of her. I crossed to oblivion and the curtain of life fell. Encountered death experience. Ephemerally. For a few seconds, I crossed to oblivion. He could not think anything. Everything was erased. And he felt that his life has ended. Now, what is happening is of the outer world. The next I remember, I was lying on my stomach beside the pool vomiting. But miracle had happened. He opened his eyes and he found that he had not died. He was on the beach. Somebody had brought him to the land and he was vomiting out water. The chap that threw me in was saying, but I was only fooling. Someone said the kid nearly died. Be all right now. Let's carry him to the locker room. Of course, you can understand very well who this chap is, isn't it? The chap, the chap is the Starvey fellow who had thrown him into the water. So he told that I was only joking with him. And the others told that he would be all right to be taken. He was to be taken to the room where the budding swimmers, changed their. Several hours later, I walked home. I was weak and trembling. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. Several hours later, he had been provided with first aid treatment. The water in his stomach had to be taken out, and the rhythm of inhaling in oxygen and exhaling out carbon dioxide was to be again helped to be started by the people who would give first aid. Still, he did not feel well, felt very weak, and he was shaking. At the same time, our self-learner, who had a very challenging spirit, also felt very much ashamed and depressed, as he could not emerge victorious in his fight against water, which was continuously luring him, but at the same time was not allowing him to emerge victorious. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. I could not eat that night. For days, a haunting fear was in my heart. So, the normal rhythm of his life had been changed. He felt that he was always afraid, haunting fear. Haunting means as if a ghost was coming. Here, the ghost was water. He was becoming afraid of water. So, how he was going to learn swimming? The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. Slightest exertion, he could not think about anything which would give him pressure, which was a little bit more difficult. It made him tremble. He could not walk and he could not eat anything. I went back to the pool. I feared water. I avoided it whenever I could. So after this incident, which happened when he was very young, 9 to 10 years old, he did not want to learn swimming. Then what happened? A few years later, when I came to know the waters of the Cascades, I wanted to get into them. Now, he had gone for holidaying and he was seeing the cascades or the waterfalls of the Americas. At that time, again water started to allure him. Water was again trying to make him greedy. Water was as if again calling him to embark, to plunge into it. I wanted to get into them. And whenever I did, whether I was wading in the Titan or bumping river or bathing in the warm lake of the goat rocks, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back, had become developed water hydrophobia. Of course, this is not the disease hydrophobia. He would see the river flowing, the springs jumping from the rocks, from one rock to another rock. He would see the lake, but the fear of, he was developing a fear of playing with water. Now, I must tell you something. This Titan is in Yakima County of America. Okay. Now, it would take possession of me completely. Take possession of me completely means he was controlled by the fear of water. My legs would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab me. I heard he was very much afraid of swimming. His legs did not move, and as if he would become very afraid. Fear is regarded to be cold. Something which is hostile to us is regarded to be cold. Hopefulness, happiness, they are thought to be providing us with warmth. As warmth is needed for maintenance of life. Too much cold is hostile to the life force. These handicaps stayed with me as the years rolled by. So, after 10 years of age, he had been away from water for many years. As the years rolled by, he used to become more afraid of swimming. In canoes on main lakes, fishing for landlocked salmon. Canoes are both. So people ride canoes in on the main lakes of the America, and they uh, fish salmon. Landlocked means more or less the stones or the pieces of land they they surround a small portion of water, as if nature creates a very nice lake and the salmon fishes thrive, and um, they increase their number within that lake. People go there and they fish, they catch salmon. Bass fishing in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is in New England. New England is a particular portion of the United States of America. Now, New England is situated in the northeastern part of the United States. In this portion, there are the places like Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island. Bass is a kind of fish. So in the lakes of New Hampshire, you would go for bass fishing. Trout is another fish. You would go to metroleus and the destitutes in the lakes of Oregon in America. Fishing for salmon in Columbia, Bumping Lake in the Cascades. You would also go with the elders to catch salmon fish in Columbia. You would enjoy seeing the cascades jumping from one layer of rock to another layer. But the thought of swimming used to send shiver down his spines. He would become very afraid. Goosebumps would appear on his skin. Whenever I went, wherever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. Haunting fear of water, the fear of swimming. Plunging in the water. So it is the haunting fear of plunging into water. It ruined my fishing trips. Now he could gradually, it was increasing so much that he was becoming unable of seeing a mass of water. For fishing, you have to go just at the center of the water body. You will be surrounded by water, though you are not plunging into it. For this also he was becoming afraid. Deprived me of the joy of canoeing, boating, swimming. So here, gradually enslaving him. All the activities related to water bodies were becoming unenjoyable to him. I used every way I knew to overcome this fear, but it held me firmly in its grip. I had told you, on his own, he wanted to overcome his fear, but he could not come out of it. He needed somebody's help. Finally, one October, I decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. So, for the first time, wanted professional help to learn swimming. There are many children who do not like water. The parents force them to learn swimming, which will be needed by them in the long run. So the professional trainers and the instructors, they help these learners who actually hate swimming to eradicate, wipe away from their mind, to erase the fear of water and to become friendly with water and play with water. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week and an hour each day. Gradually, first step, number one, the instructor told that you come to the swimming pool, which has very shallow water, and just play in water. Don't have to think about swimming. The instructor put a belt around me. Second step, a rope attached to the belt went through a pulley that ran on the overhead cable. He held on the other end of the rope and we went back and forth. Second was he was taught to move to and fro in water. How? A belt was fastened around his waist and that was connected to a rope. There was a pulley which was at the top of the swimming pool and it had another end which was held by the instructor who was on the shore of the swimming pool. He used to make our writer just in this way move to and fro in the water. As you were dipping, as if he was a bait and the pulley was the fishing net, fishing rod, and the instructor was the man who was fishing. Understood? He held on to the end of the rope and we went back and forth across the pool, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. So it was not a fear to be overcome by trivial means. In this way, he was dipped in water and moved through and fro for weeks. On each trip across the pool, a bit of panic seized me. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under, some of the old terror returned and my legs froze. Now, what did the number 3? What did the instructor, the next step, what did the instructor do? Now, the instructor, when after as he was dipping the writer within the water, he started to dip him a little bit inside the pool. He was dipped maybe few feet down the layers of water, the mass of water, and he felt afraid as he saw that again he was surrounded by water. But he was attached with the pulley. He was hanging with the help, he was hanging from the pole. from the ropes which were by with the help of two poles which were at the two shores of the swimming pool, very much like the net of the tennis net is hung, or it is set, how it is fitted. It was 3 months before the tension began to slack. For in this way, for 3 months, he was dipped in water, and sometimes the swimmer was dipping him within the inside, deep inside the water, and was making him stable within the water. So that again he became accustomed or familiar with seeing, familiar to see water surrounding him. He again became familiar with water surrounding him. Then he taught me to put my face underwater and exhale, and to raise my nose and inhale. Again, he was taught the breathing technique. How to inhale oxygen to his heart's content, then dip into the water, plunge into the water, and exhale. Again, to remain within the water for a considerable period of time. Again, raise his head out of the watery layer and breathe in oxygen. I repeated this exercise hundreds of times. Bit by bit, I shed part of the panic that seized me when my head went underwater. In this way, gradually, the writer again was able to be friendly with water. Next, he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. Now, the sixth step, the protagonist was told to stand by the side of the pool and to kick water. Why? To gain confidence that he would be able to win the forces of water. He would be able to defeat water. He was also having the power to face the challenges of swimming. For weeks, he did this. Thus, but they gradually relaxed. At first, my legs refused to work, but they gradually relaxed, and finally, I could command them. Okay. Again, he was becoming afraid to move his legs in water, but then he became accustomed and he felt that he would be able to enslave water. In this way, again, he built a swimmer. And when he had perfected each piece, he put them together into an integrated whole. Meaning is this: the various steps of learning swimming are new. All the old things, every day he used to start from step 1. How the protagonist was told to see water, to move in water, to kick the waves. In April, he said, now you can swim. Dive off and swim the length of the pool, crawl stroke. So after a few months, he told that now you would be able to plunge into water and be able to push back the watery waves, trying to swallow you up. Now, this first stroke, as you know, there are different strokes like butterfly, breaststroke. The first stroke learned by a swimmer is the crawl stroke. I did. The instructor was finished, but I was not finished. I still wondered if I would be terror stricken when I was alone in the pool. The instructor was very much amazed to see how the protagonist, who was so afraid of water and had almost developed a phobia, had been able to again defeat watery forces. But the um, protagonist was very conscious. So he again started to think anew that when he would indulge in swimming, trying to go a few kilometers inside water, at that time he would become again afraid. He would feel that he was throttled by water. Tiny vestiges of the old terror would return, vestiges, pieces. Again, somehow the fears, the various phobias, they were trying to make their entrance into the mind of the protagonist. But now I could frown and say to that terror, trying to scare me, well, here's to you, look, and off I'd go for another length of the pool. This is why he was made to kick the waves. In this way, he was developing in him again confidence that water was nothing. He was undermining water, the force of water, the power of water. If he felt more powerful, then he would be able to only defeat the watery forces. This went on until July, but I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all terror had left. So till July, he was able to, until July, he had been able to swim unobstructedly. Now he wanted to encounter difficult challenges. He wanted to test himself. Now, for this, he went to a very deep lake, Wentworth in New Hampshire. He also dived from the dock of Triggs Island and swam 2 miles across the lake. Okay. Now, he applied breaststroke, side stroke, backstroke. So he had been able to play with water. Only once the terror fear returned. When he was in the middle of the lake and he was looking at the bottom of the pool or the lake, he found bottomless water and he again became very afraid. Then he laughed and told himself that, Mr. Terror, do you think you will be able to captivate me? And he went on swimming. Still, he had few doubts, residual doubts. Wanted to become a flawless expert swimmer. So he went to west of United States of America. He went to the Yakima County, to Titan, to Conrad Meadows. They are all in the Yakima County. He also went to the Conrad Creek tail. It is in Missouri. And to Meade Glacier. It is in Washington. He camped or remained at the side of Warm Lake. He tripped and dived into the lake and went to the shore. Now he thought that he could be compared to Doc Corcoran, who was a swimmer. He used to go shore of one river to another river, from one channel to another channel, from one deadly lake to from the shore of one deadly lake to another lake. Now he was very much sure that he had been able to conquer his fear. He became ecstatic and shouted in joy. Now, he knew that in death there is peace, but man is a fighter. The life is a journey, posing various kinds of challenges. One is a real human being who will be able to fight against these challenges. The meaning of a life is not to emerge as a winner always, but to be able to sustain oneself amidst all adversities, hostilities, and not to be an escapist. Roosevelt, who was the 32nd American president, had told, all we have to fear is fear itself. We have to be afraid of the fact that if we become afraid of anything, our life ends there. He experienced near death, he had the near death experience. So, his willingness to live and enjoy life became more intense. Now, he would want to be friendly with nature, mingle in nature, and win or emerge triumphant against all the hostilities posed by nature in the form of various kinds of land. So with this, we end the discussion on this chapter.